What is going on, YouTube? PPS back. It is past the prop. We're going back to the NBA today on our Monday edition show. We're coming at you guys live here a little bit early, but we had to get all of these plays in for you guys. 4 plays for you today. Joined as always by my guy Stu. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Rough weekend for me. I don't know about you. I feel like I got punched in the face and then punched in the leg, the arm. I got punched everywhere. I got beat up. So what can we do after that? We got to come back even stronger. We've got a good day of NBA, a good day of NFL. And to be honest, I'm already a little bit in the hole. I sent you some of my soccer picks. Did not go so well this morning. So, you know what I mean? We're a little bit motivated today and, ready to start the win streak.
Yeah, dude, you can't. I looked at those. I think I sent you something back. Like I was laughing or whatever. But again, I've taken first half draw in pretty much every one of these games until I get fucked by it, pretty much. So we'll see how that continues to go. But yeah, the World Cup games have been crazy exciting towards the end of the games, at least. So if you're betting second half overs, you're probably getting it because those are where all the goals are coming from. First half is kind of slow. But yeah, I'm very, very pumped for today's slate. We'll take a look at some people in the chat. We got some questions in here already. We got Turbo in here. We got three questions in here as well. So we'll get to those shortly, but we can get to our recap here initially. And then we can kind of talk, I guess, for like 2 minutes maybe on this football game. That's just a joke. Again, another shitty game. But yeah, let me get to that. Updated numbers. I'll make sure I get this to you. 8.76 units. I believe we went down 1.6 from last week. Obviously, our touchdown one. Keenan got in. I don't believe Andrew scored. Did he?
No, Mark Andrews ruined my day, but we can talk more about that later.
So we ended up having Keenan Allen as a 1-unit play. Looked good to start. He looked fantastic, and then everything kind of went to DeAndre Carter after that.
Yeah, no, I mean, 4 for 33 and the first half, or I mean, the first quarter almost, and it was, looking pretty good. But unfortunately, it did not go our way. I also had Gerald Everett in that game. It did not go his way either. Yeah, just a rough weekend for me. So unfortunate for Keenan Allen. But yeah, he was not involved at all. It's the DeAndre Carter show, which as a Washington fan, I like to see my guys succeed out there, but, not that much, save some for the rest of us.
Yeah, no, he was the focal point. I think he was the leading receiver, leading targets, leading receptions wise. Everywhere you went, he was the guy there. Good for the Chargers. I'm happy to see them winning. I want to see them in the playoffs. They're such an exciting team to watch. So hopefully they can find their way in there. But yeah, and then obviously our touchdown one did not go where we wanted it to here. But we got 4 plays for you guys today. And looking forward to cashing a couple of these. I will make sure we get all of that taken care of here. But while we're waiting for more people in here, we got 20 of you guys. We appreciate it. Smash that like button here within the first 5 minutes. It's awesome. I appreciate all you guys popping in, even if we did a little early. But also, let's talk about this ugly football game that's playing on today. Obviously, our main focal point is going to be about, obviously, the NBA slate, which is awesome and a massive slate. But I'll kick it to you here first. Do you have any leans if you had to take a total side? Where are we going with this?
Yeah, I'm probably leaning towards the Steelers in this one. I'm not going to lie. I do kind of feel like TJ Watt is such an impactful player, right, to the spread, to the game, to what the Steelers want to do on a week-by-week basis. And I do feel like they still haven't quite adjusted to him being back because I really do think he is the glue that holds this team together, right? This is a defensive football team with a rookie quarterback that we're watching develop in real time right now. So this isn't a guy that's, polished yet. Kenny Pickett's going to make mistakes. He's probably going to throw some questionable passes, maybe a couple picks. But I love this defense now. I love that Watt's back. And what I really love is that the Colts offensive line is ranked 31st in the NFL right now. Just an absolutely brutal spot, right? So we get a good defensive line. We get a good pass rush versus an offensive line that can't protect Matt Ryan to save their life. And because of that, Matt Ryan has been absolutely terrible this season. But now they got the Jeff Saturday regime in there. They've got everyone fired up again. Matt Ryan got benched, but he's back. So I do think that that's good for the passing game. So what I'd be looking to target in this game is I feel like the passing game for the Colts is kind of going to be where it's at, right? I don't think they're going to be able to run. I believe 7th in EPA per play with TJ Watt against opposing running backs so far this year. So I do think it's going to be a lot easier to pass on the Steelers. That's where we've seen him get absolutely destroyed. So at that point, you just got to decide who you're between Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman. Those are my 2 primary guys for tonight, and those who I'd be looking to bet. So somebody say the Matt Ryan interception in the chat. I do like that look. I don't know about you, but just the mental image, right, of that pass rush get in there. Matt Ryan just chucking it up in the air and a late fourth quarter interception to seal the game sounds about right to me.
Yeah, no, and I think that kind of answers MSA's question here as well on the game script and passing props. I think the Matt Ryan side would be the side. I think, again, I'm probably going to do completions if I do bet Matt Ryan, just because I don't imagine him having much time. I mean, you have guys here, too, who are very active in that short passing game, right? We've seen it across the board. Obviously, they're healthy, too. Pittman, Pierce. Mo Alley Cox is their tight end there. And then obviously Paris Campbell is emerging as well. So a lot of guys who don't really run super deep routes outside of Pierce, who's had a couple pretty big games in terms of air yards. But other than that, they're pretty stuck in that 5 to 15 yard range. We're not really seeing too much down the field. Matt Ryan's never really been too much of a deep threat unless you're throwing to prime Julio Jones, where he's just catching literally everything.
Well, and two, you can beat the Steelers deep. Initially, when I started my research, I did want to bet on Alec Pierce. I do actively want to bet on him because I do think you can beat the Steelers deep. But like you said, Matt Ryan just isn't willing to do that, especially with that. He still has a bit of that arm-shoulder injury from a while back. And then, like we mentioned earlier, with the lack of an offensive line, it's actually just going to be really hard for him to get those deep targets in. So that's exactly kind of like what we're saying right there. And that's why I think guys like Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman, who have half of the ADOT of Alec Pierce, will have a lot more usage in this one. And same on the other side too, right? I don't know if I'm going to bet on Kenny Pickett. It's probably not something I want to do, but the Colts defensive line should be pretty good at stopping the run. We all know Najee Harris kind of sucks this season, and the backup Jaylen Warren is out this game. So it pretty much will be the Najee Harris show all day long. That could mean a lot of passing on the other side if he can't get it started against a good Colts defensive line. So maybe Najee Harris receptions could be the way to go right there.
Yeah, I was definitely going to talk about Warren. I think that Ryan brought up Freiermuth too, and I kind of like Freiermuth in that point where Jaylen Warren was getting those dump offs, right? A lot of the time, especially when they're splitting about 60-40 on the routes and everything out of the backfield. So again, I think this could be a slow starting game, but I kind of have a feeling that we're going to see a little bit better Kenny Pickett than we have here, just getting that primetime game. I think that this is going to be kind of a fun game for him to kind of have a coming out party a little bit. So I would definitely take your side here and leaning the Steelers. This Colts team is just a mess. It's an absolute mess, which is why we're not really going to be talking about it too much here. We just want to get that out because we do see that you guys have some questions. Thoughts on Turbo bringing up the DK squares for the first quarter, 0-0. Is that a spot you're thinking about here? Obviously, so a lot of these primetime games have started very slow. The only reason I would even be skeptical here is just because, you also have Boswell on one side who can just kick absolute missiles here too. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting spot for sure.
Yeah, no, I don't really bet those at all ever. So I don't know. I guess you could, honestly. It's like a no runs first inning right here, except you have to sweat it for 20 minutes. So I don't know. That's probably a pass room, but I see why you like it, especially at plus 220. Both these offenses are not going to be good.
For sure. I love it. And let's 3 units. That's a max play for me. I don't know if we're going full max, but I appreciate the initiative there coming from you. But yeah, we will head on over to NBA here. A lot of pretty high totals. I'm not going to lie. We haven't seen many with multiple 230s on the slate. And I believe we have 4 totals over 230. And a lot of those games are the later games, right? The early games are your 10-point spreads, really tough spots for a lot of these teams. But I kind of like this slate in terms of of totals of props in those later games. I believe most of our plays are going to be in those games. Do you have a game that you're looking at specifically that outside of props and outside of Washington you're looking forward to?
Yeah, so you kind of get me right there when you say outside of Washington, but I will say just in general, I mean, I love watching SGA play. I love watching Zion play. So even if I didn't have any bets in that game at all, I do think that would be the one that has my attention. I believe that's an earlier one. That's probably like a 7:30 or 8 start my time. So
Yep.
I think I'll be checking out those two, young NFL, NBA stars duke it out tonight for sure.
Yeah, and I kind of like another one of these faster paced games. I like the Kings Phoenix game. I have absolutely no money on that game, but the fact that we're seeing the Kings at home as 1-point favorites versus one of the teams that a lot of people projected to come out of the Western Conference, I thought that was really intriguing that the books are giving that much respect to the Kings. The books kind of have to after the Kings have just been taking all of the books' money for people that are backing them because they have been on a tear. They're playing extremely well. And obviously, we're seeing De'Aaron Fox turn into a superstar every single night. He's putting out 30-point games. We're seeing him finally being able to shoot the 3-ball too. I think that him and Devin Booker in that later game, I think that's like the second or third last game of the night, should be an interesting one. And I think Sabonis facing off against Ayton down low is still another great matchup that we could definitely see. Hopefully, they don't see too much foul trouble in that one.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a foul trouble waiting to happen. But yeah, Sabonis, he might be able to eat in that matchup right there. If he can get that mid-range game going, Aiden playing all that drop, it could be the Sabonis show if he has a good shooting night today for sure.
Yeah, I love it. I think that both of those games are great. I think we're going to be talking about both of those games as well in our breakdowns here. But yeah, I will kick it to you. It looks like we both have plays in that first game that you mentioned here. I believe you have a half unit spot, and I anytime I see this guy's name, it's just bonafide wagon at this point.
Yeah, I'm going with SGA 8 first quarter points and him to get a block -105, playing that for half a unit over on DraftKings. Block and steal have both been great for me for SGA, but surprisingly, block has actually been the more consistent leg recently. Hit in 14 of his last 16 games, and then 15 of his last 16 when playing 30-plus minutes. SGA, he set out at the beginning of the season, he said, I'm going to be a defensive force, right? It's not enough for me to just score 30 points per game. He's given all the effort in the world. They've alluded to it in multiple interviews. I believe he said Kenrich Williams, who apparently sucks at basketball. But hey, if he's good at getting SGA fired up to play defense, then that's enough to keep him on the team for me because SGA has been playing good defense. Very active defense. Like I said, block in 15 of his last 16 games, playing 30 or more minutes. And I expect that once again right here. The Pelicans are middle of the pack against both points and blocks allowed to point guards. And I would actually say that's a pretty good sign right here because the Pelicans do have around a top 8, top 7 defense in the league. But when you see they're now middle of the pack against point guards, it's kind of the same logic I was talking about with Ja Morant last time, where it's one of those situations where they just don't actually have the guys to guard him, right? Is it going to be Alvarado? Is it going to be Devontae Graham? Herb Jones, once again, could be sliding over, but that's then a lateral quickness mismatch, right? Where SGA can get by him because he's smaller for once against an opposing guard right there. SGA averaging 9.2 first quarter points, almost 11 minutes per game in the first quarter. He's out there the whole time. The volume is there. And once again, there's just nobody reliable on the Thunder. Who else are you going to count on for a bucket? Even if SGA goes into this game halfway through the first quarter, 0 points, I still have confidence in him almost every single time because Lou Dort is not out there knocking down shots. Poku is not out there. No one on this team is really dependable to score except SGA. So I'm going to keep riding with this every single day. He's so ungodly consistent. I'm just going to keep it going today. I love SGA.
Yeah, I can never get away from this dude. I swear, every time I take him, this man has just been cashing tickets for me. I believe we cashed with him on the last Pass the Prop NBA. I had his points, rebounds, assists, and this dude comes out with 15 rebounds, assists, still gets his 30 points. So consistent. And what I do like is early on in the game, he gets his, right? He goes out and he scores right away, makes the people come on the double team, and then you start seeing the rebounds, assists come around in that later part of the second quarter because the dude's putting up like 13. The last couple of games I've been watching him, obviously having bets on him, 13, 15, right? Even sometimes even closer to 20 points in that first quarter. And then that second quarter, he's like, okay, now we can start dishing it. We're starting to see the double teams come. And that obviously is very good, bodes well for this. And he's just playing so many minutes. He's so long, too, for a guard that obviously the block definitely, your numbers back it up. But even just in a sense of just like watching him play, you can just see that he is so much longer than a lot of these guards that he's playing against. And I am going to head to the same game. I'm going to Zion. I saw it already earlier that we had Jay dropping in here. Feels like a 30-point Zion night. And I tend to agree, right? We have a 33% usage rate this year in 2 games without Ingram and CJ McCollum. Doubtful Ingram. And even if Ingram plays, I still like this number. I just think the assist number will take a little bit of a hit. But Zion is unreal right now. He's top 10 in drives per game, right? And we have a team here in the Thunder who, I mean, we were talking about it before the show. Like, who are you going to have block a shot, right? I mean, Poku, maybe, right? And we're looking at him on the year. Oklahoma City is allowing 53.2 points per game in the paint. That is 4th worst in the NBA. And who else is going to eat more in the paint than Zion Williamson going up against God knows who's going to try and stand in front of this guy? I don't see anybody standing in front of him. I don't see anyone being able to stop him from grabbing rebounds. I like to see his rebound props at like 6.5, which is awesome. And I think we're getting another buy low spot because they got their absolute doors blown off against the Memphis Grizzlies in their last matchup. Who only played 30 minutes, right? Didn't barely even shot in that game. A lot of hype behind that game, a lot of eyes on that game, and it just turned into a blowout. So we have a buy low spot for sure. I mean, before that game, we saw a 32 point game from him, 11 boards, and then another blowout in the game before. So there's a lot of inconsistencies here, but that is not to do with Zion's play. Because if you go back even further, you're seeing 26, 29, 19, 30, right? There's a lot of big time scoring performances, and that's when he's getting his minutes. There's just too many blowouts here, but I don't think with the amount of injuries and guys missing for the Pelicans that I see them blowing them out. They're only a 5-point favorite. You're missing 2 or 3 starters, and a lot of usage here. So I think Zion can eat. We don't see Valanciunas playing 35 minutes in these games either. So that's a nice rebound boost there as well. I love Zion tonight. And I easily could see him scoring 40 points overall in this game because I don't know who's going to stand in front of him on this Thunder side.
Yeah, I mean, can we all just take a pause and just get the mental, like, I don't even think you need numbers for this one. Just try to envision Zion in your head and then try to think of Poku and James Robinson Earl, who both probably weigh as much as I do right now, and just try to mentally imagine those 2 guys stopping Zion. Like, I actually, they don't have the personnel. They just don't. Like, they don't have any. Imagine if Chet was in this game too. That would be so funny. It's just nobody can, like, if Zion doesn't hit this number, I really don't know what to tell you. Like, this is such a smash spot right here where he really should be able to just go out and get his own, do whatever he can. And like you said, the saving grace here is no Ingram, no CJ. That means this game should stay reasonably close because I'm not sure who else is going to be out there carrying the load besides Zion. I mean, Trey Murphy, he's going to knock down a couple threes. I like that guy on the perimeter, but it really should just be the Zion show today. So I absolutely love this spot. And yeah, I'm just going to be, oh, if he doesn't get this number, man, I would love to see why. I can't imagine these guys slowing him down.
Yeah, and like I said, even if Ingram does play, I just think that takes a little bit from the assists. But we could see Zion just get double teamed like a couple teams have done, and he'll just pass it out. Like we saw him have 7, 8 assist games in these ones too. I think that if you're going to take – I just saw the reason I said that was Steve pulling it out. I like Zion over 4.5 assists. And I do too if Ingram is out because we've seen enough times where Ingram has run that point forward and he does a very good job at it. So I think that if we start to see him go out, I think we definitely could see Zion even push 8 assists in this game because, I mean, you have Devontae Graham who's never seen a shot that he does not like. And that man will pull up on any kick out from Zion. I know that. I've seen way too much Devontae Graham to know he is not passing that ball on a kick out. So I do like this. Would make sure 100% that Ingram is out for that one. But I know he's doubtful, and I think that if he does miss, this line moves to 5.5. So if you want to take the bet, you want to take a little gamble on Ingram sitting out, which he is doubtful, I think that this is a great line there. All righty. Let's take a look at some questions here in the chat. I do not. Did I miss anything here?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Okay. Just so I thought I saw something. Maybe it was just the Zion portion there. But 20 minutes in, 35 of you guys in here. Again, thank you so much for tuning in with us. We got 2 plays left. And an under. An under's coming to you from Stu. Something we don't do much on this show. I think I had one and everybody flipped. Now we have Stu bringing out an under here, and I'm excited to hear why.
Yep, I'm going Anthony Edwards under 23.5 points, minus 120 right here. Let's talk about in the season, right? Overall, Anthony Edwards having a pretty solid start to the season so far, averaging 22.3 points. Additionally, when we look at his last 10 games, averaging 21.7 points. So his baseline performance over these last couple of days is already under this number, which tells to me that the sports books are expecting Anthony Edwards to have an above average performance, even if it's only slightly. And I'm just not sure why they're doing that right here when the Wizards defense has been very slow, very good against opposing shooting guards. They just bring the pace down. They've played very good defense. It depends on what metric you like to use, but they're top 10 in almost every single defensive matrix. Some of them even have them as very, very good defenses this year. And I watched them a little bit too much to be that envious of their defense. There's definitely some problems, but I don't think Edwards is in a position to take advantage of them as much, especially when we look at his track records on back-to-backs. He just played 36 minutes last night against the Golden State Warriors, now has to travel and play another game. When we look at his 2 back-to-backs so far this season, he had smash spots on the second leg of the back-to-back. He had the Rockets and he had the Spurs. In those games, he played over 33 minutes in both of them. He scored 19 and 9 points. 9 points against the Houston Rockets on a back-to-back earlier this season. Then when we take this back to last season, he is under this number in 9 of his 12 last back-to-back games. He's just not someone that has succeeded on back-to-backs. And that, once again, those were the Rockets and those were the Spurs. Those are smash spots. Those are great places for Anthony Edwards. Now we get a Wizards team where I think other guys on the team will actually have better matchups. I think Edwards will mostly see Denny Advia, who is undoubtedly their best defender, especially against shooting guards. And now also Kyle Kuzma is back in the lineup, who was out yesterday. They definitely miss his defense in there. He has been above average this season. When they have to throw out Anthony Gill, it's not a good sign for the Wizards. Additionally, when we look at it, he scores more points in the paint than anyone else on this team. I mean, Gobert has a higher percentage of his points in the paint because he can't go anywhere else. But actually, Edwards is the one that scores the most points in the paint. And Porzingis has been top 3 all season long in opposing field goal percentage. Bottom 3 in opposing field goal percentage, which means guys just aren't scoring on Porzingis in the paint right now. I just think it's a bad matchup. I'm not sure why the books are expecting him to go above his season average. And given his tendency to really struggle on back-to-backs, given the slow pace, and given the fact that I really do think the big men in this game can just kind of dominate on the boards. Washington cannot rebound to save our life. I think that's where a lot of this offense comes from today. I don't think it's Anthony Edwards, and I do like his under 23.5 points right here.
Yeah, no, and I like this Washington defense. I really do. I think that they're long. Especially now, I think Rui is out again, is what I'm seeing. I think he's out for another game. I love Avdia. I think that he fits perfectly into this defense and offense. You're seeing his minutes just climb every single game, which is good to kind of see that Washington hit on a pick, right? Hit on a first rounder. So I like this spot. I like this spot, especially when you have 4 pretty big mouths to feed and Gobert, Russell, Edwards, and still Karl Anthony Towns. Like, that's a lot of usage going around. Gets without Gobert last year, I mean, we saw his usage push up into the high 20s, low 30s at points, but I don't think he's crossed that 30 mark. I haven't checked in these last couple weeks, but when I bet him earlier on in this year, he's just not getting the same volume unless he hits like his first 4 or 5 shots, right? And it's going to be tough to do that against this defense. But yeah, a guy that I have backed, I think on Play of the Day videos a lot. And I can't get away from this Utah front. I just can't do it. Utah's front is so bad. We have Lauri Markkanen questionable. He went through shoot around. They're labeling him as a game time decision. If he sits, I don't know who is playing front court for this team. Like, I know you mentioned to me Walker Kessler. Could you name me a guy when this man fouls 3 times in 8 minutes? Who else is playing?
Is Kelly Olynyk healthy? Is he
Oh
still?
my god, dude! Like that's the combination of the two worst defensive centers in basketball with Vucevic, Olynyk. I think they could both drop 30 on each other because they're both that bad defensively. But one of the reasons I do really like the spot, besides Utah allowing 57, you heard it, 57 points per game in the paint. Besides that, they're the worst defensive rebounding team in the NBA here. We're looking at Nikola Vucevic as a top 10 offensive rebounder this year at 2.5 offensive rebounds per game. I think that's just a free bucket if you're able to get that offensive rebound. I know this is really asking for a ceiling game from Nikola Vucevic, but how many ceiling games do you need to see against this Utah team to just know that they're that bad against centers, right? They're extremely poor. Pretty much every defensive category, every rebounding category, these guys are at the bottom of the list. Utah Jazz is third worst in, like I said, offensive rebounds allowed. They're eighth worst in points allowed. They're ninth worst in overall rebounds allowed. Their defensive rating is second worst in the NBA. Like they're everywhere you go. I get it. He's not a high volume shooter, but if he gets me 12 points, I could see easily getting to 16 boards. We've seen him over double digit rebounds in every game, but 3 this month, right? And he's averaging 11 and a half per game right now. This is a ceiling game for Vucevic. And if he can't body up Kelly Olynyk, this guy needs to move to power forward, maybe even move him to shooting guard if he wants to go shoot threes like that, because he should be able to have his way. And I think the same thing for Olynyk. Both these guys are not really quote unquote true centers. They're able to kind of move around. And I just think Vucevic has the advantage everywhere. Lastly, the minutes are unreal for a center. 33 plus minutes in competitive matches. We've seen him 30 against the Bucks, but that's because the Bucks kind of played him off the court there a little bit. This is going to be 33 to 35 minutes, and I don't expect Vucevic to be able to be stopped when he does decide to go after some points there.
Yeah, it's just such a good matchup. I mean, you went through it already. The points in the paint, the personnel, once again, just nobody really physically able to slow him down. And then the rebounding should be a huge thing in this one. I think both on the offensive and the defensive side of the ball, too. Even if we do see a lot of Walker Kessler minutes, that's a guy that we talk about all the time. He's gonna stand right under the rim. This isn't a stretch big we're talking about. This is a guy that's gonna be right under the rim, which means Vucevic will be right there fighting for the boards as well. So this is a very advantageous matchup, and I do think Vucevic has the kind of the better micro matchup too as well over guys like DeMar DeRozan, who might see some more Vanderbilt or guys like that.
Yes, you mentioned it closer to the basket and stuff. 17 potential rebounds per game, and his rebounding distance from the hoop only 4.5 feet. Those are numbers I love to see, especially for a guy that I want for offensive rebounds. I think that's going to be really fun to kind of see that battle down there between him and Olynyk, because I don't think you could find a better matchup for each other, right? I don't think you really could, because they both want to do the same thing as Sandow on the three-point line, but somebody has to go down low. Somebody has to. And if Lauri Markkanen does miss this game, I really don't know what they're going to do. I would be very surprised. I hope he does play, because I think that actually would help. Not only the spread, the total at 232. There's just a lot of things to like about this game, and Vucevic will be the side that I will be backing in this one here.
So are we worried? What if Vucevic, let's say he has like a handshake agreement with Kelly Olynyk where they say, you know what? Neither of us like to get rebounds. How about we both just stay on the three-point line? Are we worried about anything like that, where they just kind of a nudge or subtle agreement where, let's not do this. Let's not fight down there today.
Thing is I wouldn't be surprised. I would see Olynyk trying to do that, but if Vucevic just has to have his games where he's like, hey, I have shot the ball 4 times over the last 3 games because Zach LaVine has 36 shot attempts and DeMar DeRozan has 28 mid-range shots that just either go in or brick. So I think this is the game where I don't even know is Billy Donovan still the coach there? Is that still the coach
of the Bills?
Chicago?
I think so. I don't know.
I think so too. I was just curious. I just couldn't remember for the life of me. I'm like, I think it's Billy Donovan, but I think Billy Donovan's like, hey, this guy has been grabbing rebounds. Like, how many of these games we've seen? I think 3 of his last 4 games, more rebounds than points. And that's like 13, 14 rebounds. Like, hey, Billy's like, hey, give Nikola a game. This can be his game. I'm tired of watching mid-range jumpers from DeMar DeRozan. So hopefully that's the way he does things here, because I think this is going to be such an interesting matchup. I might just tune in for that matchup. That's just going to be so exciting to watch. All right. Ooh, Milo, I like that spot. Vucevic double-double with Shea block, plus 130, plus 126. That's a great spot. If you could, Milos, could you post what book you got that one on, just so people can kind of follow your lead on that one? I think that's a great look for sure. Darius talking about Joval should feast on the boards. Got plus 106 on FanDuel this morning. I'm going to assume his rebounding prop. Let me take a look at what that is right now. For Jonas Valanciunas rebounds, I think that's important to know if Larry Nance is healthy. He is an absolute beast on the glass as well. But I know he's questionable today. Ingram was doubtful, and they already labeled out Brandon or CJ McCollum. We're seeing minus 106 at 9.5 rebounds for Jonas Valanciunas. Is that a spot where you're looking at?
9.5 feels a little bit low. The biggest problem, I guess, is Joval's one of those guys that he randomly just plays like 21 minutes sometimes. And you're like, why did he play 21 minutes? And also, here's the thing, too. They're going to size him off the floor. They're not going to want to scrap it all. We're going to see Poku at the 5 minutes. We're going to see running around on the sidelines, forcing him out the paint. I think this actually, the more I think about it, I think obviously the Pelicans want Joval out there for those rebounds, but I do think that the OKC is going to try to play him off the floor a little bit. So I hate bet. Honestly, to be completely honest with you, I hate betting on this guy since 2 years ago. I bet on him maybe like twice last year. So it's a pass for me. I don't know what you think, but
yeah, no. If I could guarantee 25 minutes for Joval, I 100% agree. I think this is an absolute smash spot. But I've watched enough Pelicans games with my bets on McCollum or on Zion to know I've seen probably 3 of the 5 games where Joval isn't even in the closing lineup, isn't in the last 6 minutes. That is something I can't get behind. Like when you see me back a guy that's only playing 20 minutes, the numbers better be damn low or he better have crazy volume, right? And Joval, you don't know, is going to have that volume. I could see 53s from the other side in this game, and those could be long rebounds. But they have a center in Larry Nance who can do all the things that Joval can't in guarding the perimeter, still being able to block shots. He's a fantastic defender. Why would I, if they're going to try to play small, why would I play Joval, right? So if Nance is out, I think this is a smash spot. If Nance is in, I'm scared. I don't know if I'm going to see him play 25 minutes.
That's a really good point. And too, if you look at it, most of their highest plus minus lineups actually do end up happening when Larry Nance is on the floor. So that's a really good point right there. He matters a lot to that.
Yeah, dude, it's just this Pelicans team could be running out 8 or 9 guys. So Joval would have to play if he's not in there. Because I know, obviously, you got Herb Jones and Murphy and those guys, but we're going to see maybe Alvarado and Graham possibly squeezing into the starting lineup. Like, that's disgusting. So somebody's got to score outside of Zion. They might triple team Zion. I still think he might bowling ball his way through everybody. But, yeah, if Nance is out, I would definitely wait for that. Because there's a lot of times where we tell you to wait on betting stuff. Like if you're going to bet a spread that you're seeing go one way, this is one where you have to. You just have to wait till the end to bet that spot for sure. Let's take a look. We got Losh mentioning that's on DraftKings at plus 126. That's a great line. Definitely think that fits into what we're looking at for tonight. Mark, we appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much for tuning in here. I'm going to kick this question to you from Drew. This is a guy that I've seen in a lot of your stuff. What is your thoughts tonight on Paris Campbell? I know we're heading back to the NFL, but we are done with all of our plays for tonight before our recap here. So let's get back to Campbell here. I know he's a guy that you've backed a few times.
Oh, yeah. And if you got any more questions, fire them off in the chat, like you said, too, either here or if we're already done and you're watching back, just put them in the comments. We'll still be here. But Paris Campbell is the guy I'm betting on today. This is not the market I'm betting on him for. I don't love it. I have to say, as a guy with a 6.1 ADOT, it's just hard for me, right? All of his targets are coming very, very close to the line of scrimmage right here. The thing is, I have noticed, as someone, like you said, that's actually been betting on Paris Campbell a good amount recently, I've been watching him a lot closer. He has a lot more deep targets sprinkled in than I expected, right? Over these last 2 weeks, now that Matt Ryan is back again, they actually are getting him involved a little bit more down the field. So I do think that Paris Campbell could get this one, but to be honest, I much prefer yards or receptions, because I do think for the longest reception market, I like to go for guys that aren't dependable, that I don't think are going to get a lot of targets, and they have to make the most of those targets. Paris Campbell's kind of the opposite. He hasn't been the most efficient this season. He's running a shit ton of routes. I'm just kind of depending on the volume. I'm depending on the pressure. I'm depending on the checkdowns, getting the ball out fast. So for me, I'd much prefer a guy like Alec Pierce, longest reception, where you can beat them deep, but he's going to be the guy running those deep routes. So Paris Campbell will be sitting there 5 yards past the line of scrimmage with his hands right here, ready to get the check down.
Yeah, no, and I kind of mentioned a little bit about completions for Matt Ryan, and I said Alec Pierce is going to be your deep threat guy. If you're going to go for longest reception, bet him, right? There are very few guys that I will bet at high volume that are going to go longest reception. One of them is like Tyreek, because Tyreek Hill can run a 5-yard route and turn it into 30 yards in a second, right? There's not many guys that can do that, and there's not as many weapons on this Indianapolis team to get them to not worry about Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell's had a couple pretty good weeks too. So I think that if you're going to do it, I think you had it right on the Alec Pierce side being the longest reception guy. Obviously, there's a lot of guys who could get this, and right, you could run a screen, right? Derrick Henry, what was his longest reception? Like 4 yards, and he runs a 70-yarder, right? So all it takes is a couple broken tackles, but you can't predict that. And I think that if you're going to want it, you're going to probably want to back the guy who's running the routes down the field. It's just a little bit safer. And that's why you always say Gabe Davis is the perfect guy for the longest reception, because he gets 4 to 7 targets, and he's averaging 21 yards per catch. So we have a couple more questions. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I will take over this one here from Wash. I'll take the first kick at it. I love Halliburton tonight. I really do. The only reason I'm probably staying away is because my biggest bet of the night is in this game. I already wrote an article for it. It's already posted over on Pine already this morning. Other than that, I probably would be. Otherwise, I think I would probably go strictly assists in this matchup. I think that, dude, he's freaking 14 assists in 3 of his last 4 games. They're giving me an 11.5 line at minus 105. Like, that's disgusting. I think this guy easily gets there. You have a terrible team at defending the 3 ball in terms of percentage-wise. I think we could easily see that. And obviously in the paint, you have some guys that have been doing work down there in Jalen Smith and Miles Turner. So I just don't rely on Halliburton scoring as much anymore. He just hasn't been scoring as efficiently as he was early in the season. He was shooting like almost 50% from 3. We knew that wasn't going to stay at that range. So I'm going to probably, if I'm going to take something, I'm going to take assists, because I don't know if he could have a pop-off points game. I don't know if he could have a pop-off rebound game. But I know for a fact he's getting his teammates open in a lot of these chances. So I would take assists only if I'm going to bet Halliburton tonight. Vamos, Portugal, goal, baby. Let's go, Portugal, baby. Portugal to win to 0 plus 180. That's what I bet on today for that one. So hopefully you can hold on there. It is the 56th minute. Oh, good thing we didn't do this during the USA matchup, or else I would be probably just screaming at my computer screen here. So, but yeah, goal for Portugal. So I don't know if it was one of your 9 anytime goal scorers in this one here, but I did see they scored.
Was it Ronaldo? I need Ronaldo, but
yep, he just scored.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh God, now I'm gonna have to hear about him more. I just like when everybody else calls him Pinaldo, because that's all he does. But I think he actually scored here, but it was assisted by Bruno, so could definitely see him getting him open. I obviously didn't see what happened there. But Jay is bringing up a first quarter question, and I will have 0 thoughts on this. This is definitely a stew thought for me. What do you got for us here?
I like BO1 as a parlay piece. You're right, the minutes have been high. The thing is, Beal's not starting at point guard. It's still Monty Morris who's back. He missed a couple games. That's still some opportunities. This team does ball handling by committee. Denny brings it down the floor a lot. Kuzma brings it down the floor a lot. Porzingis brings it down the floor. I like to, when I do first quarter, I really kind of like to follow a formula. I like when teams kind of show their intentions and we can capitalize off of it. The Wizards, we're in a state of flux right now. We can't quite figure out what to do on offense. We got different guys injured. Our lineup's different every night. I don't feel as comfortable with Beal 2 assists. For me, it would probably have to be like plus 115. Sounds like a good price for that rather than minus 110. So I like him to get 1, but it does feel a little bit more risky even with the high minutes right here.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I was taking a look at Ronaldo's goal, and they definitely should not count it as a goal because I think he completely missed the ball. So Bruno kicked it in, and yeah, he didn't touch it. So hopefully, for your sake and your wallet's sake, they keep it just because it's Ronaldo and everybody just wants to have him score here. But I think he completely whipped the ball. All right, this is a spot that, I mean, I bet on Giddey rebounds assists 2 games ago, and they got absolutely blown to shreds by the Rockets. So I'm kind of still a little hurt from that. So I don't know if I can go back to that, but if I'm going to take anything, I usually do rebounds assists just because either one of them can pop off. Do you have a thought on this? I know Shea has a pretty high assist rate when he's not dropping 30 points either. So is there a thought here on rebounds? I would lean rebounds assists just because it's a little bit safer in my eyes than just picking one because usually he has a pop-off game on one of them.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with you. I don't really have a strong take on this one either way. 6.5 feels like a fair number to me. Giddey's obviously a great rebounder, but I kind of agree. I like having the flexibility of assist plus rebounds with him. Plus, we just don't know how much he's going to get in the paint. Like if Nance and Joval are down there, a lot of guys brawling, it just could mean Giddey spends less time fighting down there with all the big centers. So I don't have a strong take on it either way. I think the Pelicans are a pretty solid rebounding team overall. So nothing really sticks out to me too much.
Exactly. Yeah, kind of my exact thought here, especially because Zion's just not going to miss a dunk either. So that's pretty much all I'm thinking is going to happen for 30 minutes of this game. So, did you see any other ones? I think that was everything. I think we got to all the questions in there. So it's time for a recap here, guys. If you have any more questions, we would love to answer them for you. We got 50 of you guys in here. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and let's do our recap here.
Sounds good. I'll be going SGA, 8 first quarter points and a block, minus 105 over on DraftKings Sportsbook. Then I'm over to Anthony Edwards, under 23.5 points, minus 120 over on BetMGM.
Love it, love it, love it. I'll be heading over to Zion Williamson, over 40.5 points, rebounds, assists. If it's Ingram and if you're worried about some stuff, just take his points if Ingram decides to play. But I don't expect him to in this matchup. They're still 5.5 point favorites with their 2 other top guys out, McCollum and Ingram there. And I'll be heading over to Nikola Vucevic in the dream matchup of all dream matchups for centers against the Utah Jazz. Over 28.5 points plus rebounds at minus 105. I really like this slate. I think we have great looks here. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we head out today?
I don't know. I mean, I think we have a good slate today. There's a good group of games right here. I know both of us will have more stuff. I know you already said you have your Pine article out. I know the play in there, and I definitely like that. I'll probably be betting something very similar tonight as well. So that's what I got. Both of us will have plenty of stuff. You know, I feel like I've got a chip on my shoulder. I had a shitty NFL week. I'm tired. I don't want to lose those bets. I'm already looking pretty close at next week's NFL slate. It's a great slate. So I'm just kind of grinding down and getting ready to absolutely murder this week. That's how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, bounce backs are always great when you have one that comes right back, especially when they actually go how your articles or your breakdowns all end up kind of going through. But no, I wanted to say shout out to the Badgers for finally moving on to a new coach. I'm excited. I am excited for that. I think Luke Fickell's going to be great. I really hope that Leonard does stay, though, because that's what made me nervous about if they sign somebody else, that if Jim Leonard would leave, because he's a Badger. And I thought he's done pretty well with how shitty everybody else is there. So that was the only shout out I wanted to have. One other thing before we head out here. Unfortunately, Cristiano did not get credit for that goal. Bruno Fernandez now on AI score says Bruno Fernandez assisted Bruno Fernandez on the shot because they had to pull him. I'm not going to lie. It was extremely close. It was like this far from his head, but everybody was hyping it like Ronaldo had this huge hit. Like it literally missed his head. So I thought that was funny because they were all trying to get obviously Ronaldo hyped up there a little bit there. But yep, have the article out. Wrote that this morning. I'll be posting that along with the recap of this video. But I really thought the show was great. I thought we did pretty good job breaking all these games down, especially with some crazy totals. 4 totals over 232 tonight. So should be in store for some pretty high scoring. Oh God, Paul, you're really gonna make me talk about this guy. This is disgusting. Last thing before we head out, Paul is bringing up a guy that I love to go up against, but there are a lot of guys out for Charlotte. I just can't. I don't know if I could possibly hit an over on him and not feel absolutely disgusting doing it. Just in my my amount of times of fading this guy. Do you have a thought? Obviously, I'm a little bit gun shy on betting this guy in any spot just because I've been fading him for so long on the defensive end.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I it's a no Al Horford, right? It's a good matchup. I mean, it's what Cornette and what Sam Hauser, is that who?
Maybe Grant Williams. Maybe
Grant Williams is like 6'4" at center, though. I respect the heart, but not quite a good size matchup. So I think it should hit. He should have a shit ton of rebounds tonight. It's just, once again, Mason Plumlee could play like 14 minutes. Nick Richard could have like a 28-point double-double, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. So I'd like to just not bet on Mason Plumlee. That's good for my mental health. So I think I'll continue that today.
One thing I will mention, Sam Hauser is from the Stevens Point area up here. And all I know is Hauser can stroke the 3-ball. So he's probably not standing in the paint. Cornette, he is not standing in the paint. So maybe if you want to talk about, I would maybe grab assists if you really want to bet this, but I don't know if he's going to rebound the ball. Both of those guys are not trying to be in the paint against these guys, especially because you have Tatum down there. You got all these other guys. Tatum, they said, is off the injury report today, which is baffling because they're off for 2 days after. So I was surprised that he even missed yesterday then. So, I don't know if I can back it. It could be a good spot, but the guys aren't planning on being in the paint. Like, I don't expect that. Maybe points, if anything, which I could never do. I could never bet on Plumlee points ever, but I can't on that. Yes, he is definitely a no-fly zone for sure. In the past the prop world, he hasn't. I don't think we've ever backed an over on a Plumlee on the show, and if we do, then you know something's wrong. Because both of us, I think, have spent more time ripping on him for sure. Parlay, bringing up Bol. I would just take his blocks, man. This dude's swatting everybody.
I agree with that. I don't want to mess with this. I mean, I don't care. I don't care. Like, Bol, maybe. Or maybe Mo Bamba will have like 12. I like the blocks. That's where I'm at too.
Blocks, and let's look at an 11-point spread in this game too. Like, no Suggs. I mean, they might be another team too. I think Terrence Ross might not play back-to-back because the dude's 45, still just a walking bucket at 45. There's just so many dudes injured on this team that, I mean, I get it, but is Bol going to play if they're down 30? Because I could easily see them being down 30 at half.
Yeah, I have no clue. Maybe he will. Who knows? I don't know. Bol, that's okay. Final thing I want to say before we get out of here too. Last week, I posted that Washington spread at the beginning of the week. Sunday night tradition. It moved 1 point overnight. I did the same thing yesterday. Miami Dolphins +4. First bet of the week against San Francisco. If you want because these are moving, okay, guys? I'm moving the markets back-to-back weeks. If you want that first, if you want to be first in line to see my Miami Dolphins write-up, Pickett Sports, code PTP. They give you between $300 and $100. It's free. But more importantly than all that bullshit, you get to see my Miami Dolphins write-up. So, yeah, we won last week with Washington. I got really lucky, and I even posted that. I accept the luck. I'm happy about it. We're going to continue that luck into this week with the Miami Dolphins +4, baby.
Yeah, shout out to Marcus Mariota, probably making about $1 million on his bet of the Washington football team +3. That man literally decides to pass with a minute left. All you have to do is run the football. You literally did it the entire game. I could not believe how stupid Marcus Mariota is. But the only explanation, his DraftKings account is looking fat this morning. It has to be. That's the only way you're that dumb, because that man was shredding the whole day. But shout out to Washington, the man. They keep finding a way to win. But no shout out to Terry McLaurin, because first time I bet on you, you suck. So yeah, he got shadow covered, I guess. But every time I pick a person from Washington, somebody else does better. Brian Robinson finds his way to my bench, and he decides he's good again. So Gibson in the doghouse or what? I don't know. We'll talk about that on Friday's show for sure. Because my hate for Ron Rivera is growing by the day. So I'm gonna I'll probably be on I don't even know who they're playing, but I'm gonna have to bet on them, whoever's on the other side, because Ron Rivera just continues to take money from my pocket. So that's enough. I don't want to get too riled up here, guys. Again, check out Stu's articles for the next couple days. I know he'll have quite a few out. I have my one out today. And all 4 of the plays, if you haven't seen them, go back, check them out, and all the breakdowns there too. We will be able to answer all your questions, guys, over the next couple hours here if you have any. So make sure if you have any more questions, drop them in the comment section below, and we'll get to them after the show here. So have a good one, guys. Best of luck today, and hopefully we'll be able to crush this 10-game NBA slate.